live stream. I'm going to do this live stream for about 45 minutes or so before Ronaldo hosts and Chris White go on at 1 p.m. Central U.S. time. But I'm here doing a live stream. Welcome to all you guys out there, and I hope all is well. Let me go ahead and get these links posted if anybody wants to go ahead and check it out. So just hang on 1 second. We'll go ahead and get this posted. And glad you guys are hope you guys are doing well. And thank you all for being here. So just hang on 1 second. And all right, hey, what's going on, guys? All right, I'm going to talk to you today a little bit about Zambia and other things on the live stream. Okay, the former Zambian president, Kenneth Kaunda, is 97 years old, and he is in the hospital with pneumonia. The press so far has said that it's not a virus. That it's not the COVID-19 virus, but it is pneumonia. That's what the press has said. Kenneth Kaunda was the first president of Zambia when Zambia became independent from the UK. Zambia was formerly known as Northern Rhodesia. Now, when it was a UK colony. Now, Zambia, when Kenneth Kaunda was president, he allowed a lot of the liberation movements to establish refuge, to be refugees in his homeland, and to establish training bases in his homeland, like the African National Congress or several other anti-apartheid organizations. Now, Kenneth Kaunda, after he became president of Zambia and into his post-presidency, he became an AIDS activist because one of his sons, he says, passed away from AIDS or the HIV virus. Now, the COVID-19 is a serious problem in Zambia right now. Zambia has recorded 1,444 deaths that we know about, but we believe that the COVID-19 cases and deaths are a lot higher. Zambia also is a poor country with a relatively broken healthcare system. So Zambia has around 100 beds for intensive care unit, and right now all those intensive care unit beds are occupied with COVID-19 cases. So please keep the nation of Zambia in your prayers right now, and also keep former Zambian president and the first Zambian president, Kenneth Kaunda, in your prayers as well. Now, with that being said, keep Zambia in your prayers. But COVID-19 has also plagued several other nations as well, not just Zambia, but I was reporting what is going on in Zambia at the moment. Now, Kenneth Kaunda was hospitalized 2 days ago from what we believe to be pneumonia, but it's been 2 days since then, and no further news has been reported in regards to this. Now, the African Development Bank has recently given Zambia a $1.4 million grant to help with this food shortage during the COVID-19 crisis. This grant's going to provide 40 unskilled manual labor jobs to the agriculture sector, but it'll also provide 150 skilled jobs to the agriculture sector. So let's just pray and hope that this plan and this grant by the African Development Bank does work. But that's the latest news. That's the latest news out of Zambia in regards to the COVID-19 situation and with all the problems they have. And that's why the African Development Bank has given Zambia $1.4 million in grants. Now, there will be an election soon in Zambia, and that's why the opposition party have been out campaigning, as well as Edgar Lungu, the current president of Zambia, and his party had been campaigning. And a campaign event, Edgar Lungu had collapsed, but we don't believe that it's serious, that it was just from stress and exhaustion. And we believe that the current Zambian president, Edgar Lungu, is and will be okay. So that's always good news. So that's the latest news out of Zambia. Now, the latest news out of South Korea, I did a video on this. Well, before we get into South Korea, talk about South Africa. Today is Youth Day in South Africa. It is a public holiday because it is June 16th right now. It's hot over there, okay? Thank you, Bebop Williams. It's hot here in the southern part of the U.S. It's summer here because we're above the equator. When it's summer in nations above the equator, it is winter in nations below the equator, like South Africa, Australia, New Zealand, just to name a few. Sri Lanka. I can remember Sri Lanka, I believe, is below the equator, but maybe not. But yes, in Australia, New Zealand, South Africa, Mozambique, Namibia, Zimbabwe, Zambia, it's cold right now because it is below the equator. That is true. Bebop Williams, I'm in the southern part of the U.S. in Mississippi. If that's where I am. I'm in Mississippi. I'm in the southern part of the USA, and it is summer here, around 90 degrees Fahrenheit, if you must know. So that's that, okay? But to commemorate what is on June 16th, 1976, there were a group of students, mostly black students, but a few white students, a few colored students, and a few Indian students as well, that had gone to protest the apartheid system. And the part of the apartheid system that they were protesting was the Bantu education system, where the apartheid government was going to make Afrikaans the mandatory language throughout all of South Africa. And most of the students didn't speak Afrikaans because Afrikaans was not used in their home. Afrikaans was not a daily language that many black South Africans used during that time, still don't. And there was a nationwide protest in this. Now, the students did not care if the average South African was using Afrikaans. They didn't care if the average white South African was using Afrikaans as well. They just didn't want Afrikaans to be forced down their throats. So I think the current African National Congress is doing a disservice to these students by banning the Afrikaans language altogether. That is not what the protesters in Soweto were aiming to do during that time in the Soweto township of Johannesburg. They didn't want Afrikaans forced down their throat. They didn't care that white South Africans were speaking Afrikaans. That was not a concern for them. Well, one of the casualties was a man by the name of Hector Peterson, and a photographer captured it. He was killed by police shots during the protest, and he was carried away by his family members. But another one was Dr. Melvin Edelstein, who was a Jewish South African who dedicated his life to the uplifting of black South Africans. But he was caught in the crossfire. Many people didn't recognize him, thought he was an Afrikaner and somebody who was forcing Afrikaans down their throat. Well, he was beat up to a bloody pulp and killed. But the current African National Congress government will not erect a statue in honor of Melvin Edelstein because they believe it'll just cause division and controversy. I firmly disagree. I think he was a great man who dedicated his life to the uplifting of black South Africans, and he was unjustly killed in the Soweto uprising. So, that's that. That's talking about, and that is why, because the majority of the protesters were youth protesters, some of them were teachers who risked their careers and their jobs to protest as well. The majority of the protesters were high school students in the Bantu education system. That's why South Africa has Youth Day. And as much as I'm not a fan of Cyril Ramaphosa, he did say about 44% of Generation Zers, people in Generation Z, have never heard of the Soweto uprising. And on the 45th anniversary of the Soweto uprising, I do agree with him that it's a disgrace that people have never heard of it. Now, equally disturbing is I think we need to honor the protesters in terms of what they wanted, and banning the Afrikaans language altogether to keep white and colored South Africans from using Afrikaans is not what the protesters wanted, and it's not what the protesters were trying to accomplish. That's what people need to realize in that situation. That's not what they were trying to accomplish. That's not what was going on. Okay. Latest news out of South Korea. The latest news out of South Korea is that 25% of South Korea's population has had at least one dosage of the COVID-19 vaccine. That is right. I'll say it again. At least 25% of South Korea's population has had at least one dose of the COVID-19 jab. Well, the president of South Korea, Moon Jae-in, his goal is to get 70% of South Koreans to be vaccinated, or no, to at least have one jab of the COVID-19 vaccine by September. And right now, they're on the way of reaching their goal. So I wish President Moon Jae-in and all of South Korea well in terms of that. Like I said, I firmly believe that the COVID-19 vaccine is the best way to try to combat this COVID-19 virus. As things are steady getting back to normal. And we'll talk about the U.S. neighbors to the north, Canada, in regards to the COVID-19 vaccine. Well, 65% of Canadians have had at least one jab of the COVID-19 vaccine, which makes Canada, in terms of percentage, the highest number of people that have been vaccinated. Not in terms of numbers, but in terms of percentage. So the Canadian borders have been closed for over a year now, except military exercises, diplomats, except under very extraordinary circumstances, can people go into Canada. Can non-Canadians go into Canada? Prime example, Canada's pro baseball team, the Toronto Blue Jays, they're playing a lot of their home games on the weekends. They're playing a lot of their home games in Buffalo, New York right now, and they're still playing their home games in Buffalo, New York, not in Toronto, Canada. Well, a lot of Canadian ice hockey teams were not able to go over to America and play American hockey teams during the regular season. And during the playoffs, Canada had its own division. But when Montreal the Montreal Canadiens won the Canadian division, they wanted to continue playing in the playoffs and try to go play the Stanley Cup. So the Montreal Canadiens were given an exemption to go travel to the United States to play against the Las Vegas Golden Knights, and that's Chris Wyatt's favorite team. And the Las Vegas Golden Knights are winning the series 1-0, but it's a 7-game series. Now, because 65% of Canadians have had at least one jab of the COVID-19 vaccine, and almost 50% of Americans have, there are talks of reopening the U.S.-Canada border to allow Americans to go to Canada and Canadians to come to America. And I hope that happens, because enough Canadians and enough Americans have been vaccinated. I think it's time to reopen the borders. And I wish the Toronto Blue Jays, I don't mind them playing in Buffalo, New York, and apparently the town of Buffalo, New York enjoys them playing there. But they're Toronto's baseball team, and they need to go back to playing their home games in the Rogers Center in Canada. That's what I firmly believe, because they are Canada's baseball team. Canada only has one Major League Baseball team since 2004, when the Montreal Expos left Montreal and went to Washington, D.C., and they're now the Washington Nationals. Well, Montreal has yet to bring back a baseball team, so Canada has only one Major League Baseball team, and that is the Toronto Blue Jays. So, that's that in regards to what is going on in Canada at the moment. So yeah, that in regards to what's going on in Canada at the moment, that is what's going on. And let me see if I can get this. I'm on the iPad, so I'm going to see if I can get this link shared. Yeah, and get it posted to Telegram right quick. All right, sorry about that. And then I'm going to get this posted to Chris White's Telegram group as well. So just hang on one second. All right. Okay, sorry about that. Okay, so that's the latest on the news there. All right, now here's where South Korea has provoked Japan, I believe, unjustly before the Olympics, and I believe this takes away from the main focus of the problems in Asia, which are the Chinese government and the North Korean government of oppression, totalitarianism. North Korea always says it's going to wipe off South Korea off the map. Never mind that. And look, Japan and South Korea have disputes over an island that legally belong to South Korea. The UN was right to rule that it belongs to South Korea, and I firmly believe that it does. It's called Dokdo. Okay? Japan calls the islands Takeshima. Well, only 3 South Koreans live on the islands. It's not in terms of population, but underneath Dokdo sits a lot of oil reserves that would be vital to South Koreans not having to buy a lot of oil from Iran. And if the islands ever go to Japan, that would be the same for Japan, because neither one of them like the Iranian government. They don't like their evil practices and all the evil threats that they do. Well, both countries claim it's theirs, but it legally belongs to South Korea. Well, Japan has never threatened to militarily take Dokdo. They've tried to take South Korea to court a few times, but it's never panned out. Well, South Korea has started launching military operations on Dokdo. Not military, but military drills near Dokdo to tell Japan don't come near Dokdo. Japan's not going to do that. Japan is a key United States ally, and the U.S. would not allow Japan to do something that's stupid or that foolish, and Japan wouldn't want to do that either because a lot of South Korean tourists visit Japan, and Lotte, the Lotte Corporation is a jointly owned South Korean and Japanese-owned conglomerate. So I think these military drills near Dokdo that South Korea is doing is a waste of time, it's a waste of money. South Korea's economy is not the best right now, like a lot of countries, because of the COVID-19. And for South Korea to be doing this, it just takes away from the main focus of trying to keep China at bay, from China wanting to be the main military and economic power in Asia, and then also from North Korea just always threatening to blow up both South Korea and Japan. That's my personal opinion on that matter. So that is what's going on. So that's that as well. So talking about that, okay. I did see yesterday. I did see a movie, A Quiet Place Part 2. What I remember about the first one, I kind of like the first one better, but the second one was actually really good. It's definitely worth a watch, and it's a pretty interesting movie. I didn't know what to think about it before I went to see it, but I didn't waste my money. I'm glad I saw A Quiet Place Part 2, and it was a very good movie. I just can't wait till the movie about the G.I. Joe ninja Snake Eyes G.I. Joe Origins is coming out July 23rd, and I want to see the movie Snake Eyes. I really do. But beyond, and then Top Gun 2, Top Gun Maverick, otherwise known as Top Gun 2, was supposed to come out in July, on July 4th, but it's now been postponed to November, and I'm really looking forward to Top Gun Maverick coming out as well. So I really am really looking forward to Top Gun Maverick coming out as well. So anyways, okay, I reported what's going on in Zambia, what's going on in South Africa, and like I said, I think Youth Day is a necessary holiday for South Africans. I believe that, I really don't believe that Afrikaans should have been forced on the Bantu education system the way it was in 1976, and I believe that the students had a right to be outraged over it. Now, we still don't know if the students were rioting and fired first, or the police say they fired first. Both sides claim the other fired the first shot or threw the first brick. But the fact is, we'll probably never know. But I do believe that Donald Mashinini, otherwise known as Sietsi Mashinini, and Sietsi means troublemaker, but I think Sietsi had a right to be a troublemaker in this case to protest what was going on, because the Bantu education system not only forced people to learn Afrikaans, but it also tried to force blacks in subservient roles, like what was going on in the apartheid system, and more so than it already was. Now, it changed in the 1980s. After that event, some progress was made because blacks were allowed. In the 1980s, they were allowed to become doctors. They were allowed to become a lot more professionals than they had been beforehand. Now, it wasn't impossible for blacks to be professionals. Nelson Mandela was a lawyer before the Soweto 1976 uprising, but that situation was rare. There were more black professionals after the uprising, and results were given that way. But like I said, there still needs to be a monument erected to Dr. Melvin Edelstein because he was unjustly killed by the protesters. By some of the protesters, and he was somebody who had opposed apartheid and dedicated his life to the uplifting of black South Africans. So that's my personal opinion in regards to that. My personal opinion with what had went down. So Chris White had a quick stream today. It was a really good stream, very informative, with with what was going on around Africa. And he did talk about, I did a video on this yesterday, that Botswana has banned poultry imports from South Africa because there was this farm outside of Johannesburg that where at least 300 of those chickens were affected with the H5N1 avian influenza, otherwise known as the bird flu. Well, Botswana gets a lot of their chicken from South Africa. Actually, I support Masisi's decision in doing this because the bird flu can be some dangerous stuff. But we'll see where Botswana gets their poultry imports now after this has happened. So, all right. Well, hope everybody is doing well. Hope you guys are doing well. Thank you guys for tuning in. And I'm going to listen to Ronaldo and Chris Wyatt's stream in about 30 minutes. I hope to see you guys there. As far as I know, it's not a call-in show for anybody else, but I'm gonna listen to it and be part of the chat. Hope everybody's doing well. Take care. God bless them. Bye bye. Bye bye.